So welcome, Elliot. I'm so happy to have you on my podcast. And oh my goodness, I'm a little starstruck here. So forgive me if I gush, because you are one of the reasons why I have such a deep love and understanding for the tarot. So welcome, Elliot Adams.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
It's just an honor to be here. I'm so excited about your new show. I watched the pilot. It was amazing. And I just love how the Queen of Cups came up at the end of that session. You know, she was just perfect for that episode. And she also had the perfect message for me that day. So I think this is going to really resonate well with people.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I think so too. And I love that. I loved seeing that. And so I would love for you to share with all of our viewers and listeners a little bit about yourself. I specifically want to hear about when you were first introduced to tarot and just all of that. So give us the rundown with Elliot.
Well, okay. It's a long story, but I discovered tarot like a lot of us do when I was in my adolescence. And I had moved into a new house with my mother. She was a single mom and she had a new boyfriend. And he had all these antiques in his attic. And I thought, ooh, this is so interesting to explore up in this old house. And so I was digging through some boxes. And one day I found a deck of tarot cards up there. And I thought they were just so beautiful. I couldn't believe the archetypes. And I always loved mythology and symbolism and fairy tales. And there they all were. In fact, I have a copy of that deck that I found when I was there. And it was called the Aquarium Tarot, but like, here's the Queen of Rods. And I thought, ooh, who is she? And then I saw the Empress and I was like, ooh, the Empress. Oh, I want to know who that is. And what is this about? And then there were some, striking cards in there too, death and tower, and it looks so dramatic. Well, it captured my imagination. And so I started to study tarot and I started to practice in the neighborhood I lived in. And pretty soon I got well known and a shop heard about me and they asked me to come in and read the owner. So I was like 16 and she said, I'm doing a psychic fair this weekend. I would love if you would come and read all our guests. And I said, well, absolutely. I'd love to do it. And so then I just got my start. And that's how it all began. Long story short, they eventually closed that shop. And I opened my own shop when I was 20. And there I was, just reading cards for people and, just having that be my life.
That is so amazing. I love that. And I love that you said that it came to you in a box up in the attic. And it was because don't you believe, being a reader, because we hear these stories passed down to us that when you were gifted a deck, that means you're truly meant to, that's your calling. So I too was given a deck through a box of old like Monopoly games and toys from my ex-mother-in-law. Is that cool? And
wow.
Yes. And it was the Rider-Waite deck. It was, it also came with the companion book that was all in Italian. And I asked her about it and I just said, and she goes, oh, we did that for party games. And she's like, I never really got into it. And I definitely have, even before that. So this was only 5 years ago for me. And it came at a time in my life that I was truly seeking guidance and direction to make what I believe is the biggest choice that I've had to make through fear. And it was leaving a comfortable situation, a comfortable marriage. And I embraced the deck. I made myself a little altar outside on the patio, and I would do readings every morning, and I would look up the meanings, and I would document like what was coming, what was saying. And and then it began to flow more with me. And then when I discovered you on Instagram, oh my gosh, my world changed, because I'm serious, Elliot. This is how cool this is. And the fact that you have had on, and I know I'm not the only one. I mean, and I can't wait to get to your book. I can't wait to share that with our listeners and our viewers. But I would go on, because you would do a card, and it wasn't a card of the day, but I guess it was the card of the day, but you would give such a beautiful explanation of what the card was upright, and then, or reversed another time. And so that was a tool for me that I constantly had at my fingertips as a resource, along with the other books that I would go and buy. And and then you were very accessible on YouTube. And then you get into this pick a card, and then your spirit animals, how you do, which my mom wants me to say hello to you. I have my whole family and friend group watching you.
Hi,
yes.
Mom. Yeah.
My mom said,
it's so nice to hear that.
She goes, I never miss a pick a card with Elliot, ever, and then we message each other through, we say, what were you today? Were you the rabbit? Were you like the whale? Or it's so cool to see.
Yes.
So you offer so much guidance through that, in play and exploration. And I also caught you on your live Instagram, where you went into a full detail of your story. And you talked about some pretty vulnerable moments in your life that, you felt bullied, or you felt you couldn't, present as yourself. And so with
Absolutely.
that, and that really spoke to me, and just hearing your heart and how you were finding the courage to be yourself, to be free to be yourself. Can you share more about that? And
absolutely. Before I go more into that, I just want to say how much I love that you said you discovered tarot during a time of transition, a really scary one, where you had to face the abandonment of what's comfortable and known, and had to go out into the world and trust yourself. And I think tarot is such a great tool for that, because it speaks in the language of archetypes and symbols that are busily chatting around in the back of our consciousness all the time. And when we tune them out and we're just busy staying comfortable, we start to feel something's missing or we're off. But these images, when we interact with them, they can put you directly in touch with what that deeper inner need is. And it sounds like you got the message and you moved on with it. So I just love that.
Yes.
But to answer your question about, my story, so where I left off was I had a little shop when I was 20 years old, and I, did well there. I had it for about 5 years, but when I would go to parties, people would say, well, what do you do for a living? And I'd say, well, I read tarot cards. And I would get these looks like, what are you doing? What is that? That's so scary. I don't know why, are you for real? Like people do that for a living, And so I started to get the message from society that there was something wrong with me, that what I was doing or what I was giving to the world was somehow not acceptable. And so I always played the oboe as well. I was a classical oboist. And, I taught myself oboe in high school. We didn't have very much money then, so I couldn't really afford lessons, but I'd listen to recordings from the library and match my sound to it. And eventually I thought, I'm going to try to go to school with the oboe, because I need to be legitimate. I can't go through life as a tarot card reader, because that's not acceptable. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go and audition for the college. And, I played an audition and they took me in because no one plays the oboe. I wasn't really that good. They were like, come on, because, we only have one other piece or one other girl in the band. And so I started focusing on music, and then the next decade of my life was just getting a bachelor's degree, and then getting the master's degree, and winning competitions and touring around, the world. I went to London Dublin, and
Yes.
played at the Royal Irish Academy there and all that. But I was feeling kind of like I was trying to fit in this box. And for classical music, for me, it was all about perfection. You know, as an oboist, we make our own reeds out of like a blade of bamboo, and you have to use a knife, and you spend 20 hours a week whittling these little pieces of wood thinner than a human hair. And one wrong move, and your work is ruined. So you're constantly like this. And I was just tight like that all the time because we needed to make our own sound. Well, I did that concert in Dublin, and I remember getting out in front of the stage, and I just had the worst panic attack. All that self-sabotage of like, you're not even good. Who do you think you are? You know, look at everyone staring at you because you look stupid right now. Why are you thinking you even belong here? And I'm just like shaking. I mean, I got through the concert. I don't think anyone really noticed, you know, how much I was struggling inside, but I felt so defeated after leaving that stage because I think I felt that I was running away from something that was really me. And luckily on that trip to Dublin, I also tacked on a trip to Greece, which is my favorite place in the world. And in Greece is a place called Delphi. It's in the mountains. It's where the Oracle of Delphi used to give her pronouncements. And that was a line of priestesses for over 1,000 years. It's beautiful. It's up high in the clouds. It's in the mountains with this carpet of olive trees below you. And I went there and I just felt like I was getting home, and I felt like I was able to be myself. And I was waiting in line to see the ruins, and the lady selling the tickets said, who are you? And I said, well, I'm Elliot. And I didn't say I'm an oboist. I said, I'm a tarot card reader. And I said, I brought my tarot cards with me. And I said, would you like a reading? And she was like, well, come on. So she took me up by the temple, and we sat on a broken pillar, and I started reading her cards, and she just started to cry. And she said, this is exactly what I'm going through. I'm so glad you came today. This was just the message I needed to hear. You need to meet my other Greek friends in the village. And so then I started meeting her friends and reading their cards. And pretty soon this whole village is coming up to me, and I'm just giving these readings away. I was just so happy to be in Delphi doing those readings. And so I felt authentic again. And I thought, what am I doing? Why am I feeling like I need to fit in a box? Why wasn't I okay with just being who I was the whole time? Did I really have to go through 10 years of this and become a doctor of music and do all of this? Well, I guess I did, because I think even our times of our life that we think is a mistake, or where we're off, or we're not being authentic, that is part of the authentic journey. The mistake is the best teacher. And sometimes we need to kind of get far away from ourselves to really, truly miss ourselves, so we want to come home.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And it's so true. It's so, because how can we not appreciate the true feeling of being in alignment when we are so out of alignment? And the way I express this or explain this to my clients, or just if I'm sharing, I heard somebody say, it's like when you're driving a car, and you get off on those rumble strips, and they vibrate on you, and they tell you to get back in line. And that's how that's what I truly, and that's tower energy to me. I believe that life comes to us, to an outside, whether it's a big catastrophe, whether it is something, an emotional breakthrough, breakdown that we're having, a discomfort, a dis-ease within self, and to get us back into our alignment, because all of us come here with a very, very unique gift, being an authentic gift to each person. And it's up to us. And I teach a tarot class, Elliot. You got to hear all this. I do a tarot. So I teach a class, and my favorite night of it, it's a 6-week course, is the history of the tarot. And what I talk about is, what is the tarot? And the tarot is the journey of the soul in picture form.
Yes.
Each of the major 22, right, is we begin as the Fool. We are so, bright-eyed and excited, and we leap and we jump with not a care in the world. We're super light in what we pack. It's always how I want to travel, but I don't.
Me
I always
neither.
take way too much crap. We got our little intuition, our little dog with us, and we head out and embark on our journey. And each of those cards, the major cards, represent different times, different energies, different issues that we're presented with in our own beings. And
Absolutely.
I loved how you hit on that, the subconscious, because I've been doing a lot of studying with, did you know Freud used to use cards, tarot cards?
That doesn't surprise me.
I was like, of course he did. And, because it is the imagery brings up so much for us, the subconscious. And that's truly when we desire real change or an inner knowing, we have to peel back those layers, because we can get super clouded up front in conscious reality. It's what's driving the ship. It's what happened to us in the past, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that's amazing. Well, I wanted to ask you, so I want to know who Athena is to you. So so tell me in your book, your beautiful book. So this is Elliot's book. This is Fearless Tarot. And it's all about how to give a positive reading in any situation. And it absolutely is. I recommend this book to every one of my students, clients, anybody who's wanting to pick up tarot to learn. And but when I was checking it out and reading through, and then I came back to your acknowledgments and who you thank, and you thanked Athena for finding the lost little boy in the library so many years ago and teaching him the language of symbols and myth. And that seriously brought tears to my eyes. I'm like, I have to ask who this Athena is. So is she a real
Athena
person?
is a goddess.
I was going to say,
goddess.
Is it the goddess? Okay. Yeah, I thought
yes.
so.
So when I was a little kid, I would go to the library. And as I mentioned, I loved fairy tales and things like that growing up. Well, I actually have the book here. There was one book of Greek mythology that I would always run to the library to go and get. And it doesn't look like much here. My husband ended up finding this for me. It wasn't available anywhere else. So we're going to throw it away in another library. But I opened this book up and I saw these beautiful illustrations. And there were these gods and goddesses. And I thought, wow, what is this? I must have been like 6 years old or 7. And I would just love looking. I couldn't even read the words, but I would look at these pictures and I would pronounce them wrong. Like there's Aphrodite, I would say Aphrodite, or Poseidon, I didn't know how to really read. But I thought, look at that, the god of the sea and all of that. I thought that was so interesting. Well, when I turned the page, I found this other lady who had a little owl with her.
Look at that.
When I was a kid, I would draw owls all the time. I would just draw them anytime I could. And then here I saw this goddess with an owl on her shoulder. I said, who is this? I need to learn more about her. And so what I found fascinating about Athena was, as a little boy, I was very sensitive. And in America in the 80s, being a sensitive little boy is not acceptable. You had to be tough and a fighter. And, I had a father who was a construction worker and a star athlete, football player. And he really wanted his boys to be kind of, John Wayne types. And that wasn't me. I always had a very feminine, soft, intuitive nature. And what I loved about Athena was she was a woman, but she dressed in armor. She dressed in men's clothes. And I thought, oh my God, that's kind of like me, because she's kind of got that masculine thing going on, but she's feminine. And got that feminine thing going on, but I'm masculine. And I just love that. And then she's got my owl. Well, anyway, the more I would interact with these symbols, and I just voraciously ate anything I could about Greek mythology, and I love it to this day. That's who the goddess Athena is. And I felt her, at first when I was a kid, I'd think, I wish these gods were real. You know, we were very fundamentalist Christian, and we lived in a really oppressive religious household, and that was
Yes.
just frowned upon to even think about. But I would kind of on the slide go get my library book, and I would be bonding with these archetypes and feeling like they understood me and feeling more connected to that than anything I was seeing in a church, or that was being kind of pushed on me by a, you know, patriarchal belief system. And so, yeah, what can I say except that Athena, I felt with me at every juncture. She's my shield. She's, I don't know what you want to call it, a spirit guide. I don't really use that language, but an archetype. She's the goddess
Yes.
of wisdom.
Yes.
And I love wisdom. I love to learn. I love experience. And yeah, so that's how Athena came to be in the book dedicated there.
That's beautiful. That's who I thought you were referring to, but I thought, well, maybe it was like the librarian, or maybe there's a twist to this. So
Nope.
I thought I'd have to ask. So that is, I love it. I love hearing about listening to people when they talk about moments in their childhood, and even your whole face, just the excitement of retelling the story. I saw like young 6-7-year-old Elliot, like through your eyes, and the excitement that came through and all of that. And I also, so I am also intuitive, and I feel, so I'm Claire, whatever the Claire, I don't know all the languaging around it too, but I do deeply connect with the energies of those who I'm engaging with. And one thing that I've always been drawn to you, and it is the divine feminine that resonates within you in with such power. So here you just spoke of that. You spoke of Athena. You spoke of how you were drawn to her for that. And there's something in the cadence of your voice that's very reassuring. It's very soothing. You know, I would even think, like, I'm thinking of like the Empress, like that nurturing, that mother energy, just, and that's how it is when you give a reading. And you actually gave me a reading, and we didn't do this on FaceTime, so you wouldn't know this unless you recalled my name, but this was back in when I was still, oh my goodness. Yeah, this was back in 2016, 17. So before I even made my big decision, you gave me a spectacular, like it wasn't just the Celtic cross. I mean, you went through layers and layers of like a whole year spread. And I still to this day reflect on that. And so it's beautiful. It's such a gift. And I know, just to share with our listeners and viewers, I mean, professionally, your list goes on and on. I mean, you have everyone from, you know, your international clients, you have Hollywood script writers you had on there, you have high profile people, journalists, you know, doctors, lawyers, whatever. And then I'm sure, and then you have, you know, somebody like me who was a very comfortable housewife who was searching for meaning in her life and direction. And I bet you get a lot of that. I bet you get a lot of people who reach out and they want confirmation to say, is it okay that I have these feelings and I have these thoughts that I want to pursue? And there's a lot of language around the tarot with that. There's a lot of, you know, when the cards come up and they direct that way. So
it's so interesting. Yeah. You know, with the thing you were saying, you know, your voice and the cadence and the Empress and all of that, you know, I feel some people say, you have such a gift. When I had the reading from you, it was so profound. When I sit down for a reading, I don't even feel like I'm doing it. I kind of feel like I check out and I just go on automatic and I just let that voice talk. And the body I'm in might be different, but the voice has been eternal. And I think that the voice is just kind of what passes through. but there's a kind of a remoteness with it. You know, maybe you're more of an intuitive reader where you really are connecting with the
Mhm.
person. I feel that sensitivity too. I can kind of sense what they're feeling, but I also feel a little bit of a remoteness where I'm just
Mhm.
saying, I'm going to just give you your message. And then about an hour after the reading, I can't even remember it. And so when I was a kid, people would say, "Oh my God, it was such a gift." I think I feel kind of like that's not a gift. I don't even
Yeah.
feel like I was responsible for it or owning it. And I guess that's just kind of my style. But as I'm getting older, I'm kind of seeing that the ability to just kind of let that voice flow through is helpful. And what I do for clients is not so much predict their future as much as I put them back in touch with what's strongest and best within them. And I
Mm.
can also look at where the symbols are talking about a struggle they're going through. But just as the struggling cards are true, so are the empowering ones. And if we can just remind people, hey, but you're also the strength card. Hey, but
Yes.
you're also the Queen of Wands. You may be going through the tower, but you're also, look at who you were before. Remember.
Mhm.
And it just feels like people say, now I know what to do. Because
Yes.
you
Yes.
just got to lead them back to their own voice, their own power. And what great honor to do work like that. It feels so gratifying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things that you share often is that we have the power to change the reversals, the energy. You know, like if there's
Hmm.
something not working, like if there's something, you know, if you have, like, let's say you have the reversed tower, which to me, that is like you are stuck in, you're stuck in it. You're actually choosing not to listen and feel and look at what is being signaled to you to get out of. And so I remember you doing a reading one time, and you were just saying, you know, you have the power to turn this upside down. You can face this, you know, to
Hmm.
work with that. And so just working with the symbolism, and then so in your book and how you illustrate with your words around each card, so you go through each of them, which is, so anybody listening, viewing, if you are curious about, I've always, you know, been drawn to the tarot. I love getting tarot readings. I love watching Elliot on his channels. Pick up this book because it takes the mystery, it takes the fear away from what it is to understand, like, you know, what it is to pick up a card and look at all this symbolism, all these layers that come to you, and gives you a true understanding. And there is a connection that takes place. I remember when it happened, and I bet you could remember too, is at first we get to know the cards, we look up the meanings, maybe we like start handwriting stuff down, and it through repetition, you think it's more of like, oh, I have to memorize this exact meaning for this card. That's not what it is. It's all of a sudden what happens is a connection, like you said. It's like all of a sudden this illumination happens, and the illumination is all these symbols begin to really start speaking and start, you see different messages, even different times looking at the same card, even though they all have a across the board single message in each. But I mean, it has been profound for me. I use them. So I'll tell you real quick about, and this will be good for my listeners to hear. So in my exploration of being free to be myself, I was making big decisions as far as, okay, if I'm going to leave the comfort of this life, I'm going to have a job. I'm going to have a well-paying job. I'm going to have a career. So I went to massage school. I knew I loved making people feel good. I grew up rubbing my dad and my grandfather's feet. In the back of my head for many, many years, I always thought if I could do one thing, like for a job, I bet I would be like a bomb ass massage therapist, because I love massages. I'm such a touchy-feely person anyway. And, you know, I just knew that felt like that connected with me. So I went to school. And as I'm in school, I'm going through a lot of my preparation and then doing my own healing work. I got Reiki certified, which Reiki is life force energy we use for healing. And with that modality, I began to envision, and I remember this was like right in anatomy class, you know, thinking, I want my own studio. I want it to be in a small home. I want people to come to me. I want to sit. I want to make them tea. I want to give them a tarot reading. I want to massage them. And I want to give them Reiki. And Elliot, that's what I'm freaking doing. And it was just a thought, like, and I remember telling like my students about it, like my classmates, I'm like, I'm going to incorporate tarot readings with a massage. And I actually pull cards on people. Like when they're laying, it's called supine, face up. I will align the chakras with some of the playing cards, some of the tarot cards, pull some cards, you know, so there's no limit to what our calling is. And
I love that so much. You know, when you were talking just a moment ago too, you picked up the magician card and you showed it to the camera, and everything you're describing is exactly what this card is showing. So the magician, he's the master of his environment. He represents our thoughts. He represents the power of our thoughts. He's got his hand up raised with the wand. He's unlimited. He's channeling his best, highest self. And he's pointing down at the ground with the other hand, symbolizing what he's manifesting from above, he's manifesting below. He's putting it into the real world. And this card is all about intentions. And basically you just said, I had the intention. This is the kind of job I want. This is what I'm going to focus on. And you manifested it. And the magician just shows you the power of your thoughts. They can make your life better, or they can tear you apart. And, you know, the trick with the thoughts, I think, is, you know, really focusing them towards something that's going to be empowering for you, because your thoughts are magic spells. They're totally weaving the reality you're creating for yourself. And the beauty of tarot is if you don't like what you're seeing, if you don't like where your life is at, and you don't like the spell that you wove, well, you can make a new spell by changing your focus and putting that intention on something empowering instead, which is exactly what you did. So I had to say, I saw that magician floating by and I just loved it. And then you told this whole magician-esque story, which is all about manifesting the life you wanted. And I just love that. That's tarot.
That's tarot. And then that is totally divine intervention, because what I'm doing on the side here that the camera can't really see is I'm looking for your lifetime tarot symbol, which I told you I was going to teach you this really cool. So I'm over here thumbing through looking for your card, Elliot, and I pick up the magician because we were talking, and the magician is actually, this is my lifetime tarot symbol.
Wow.
This is my card. And so the way that we figure out, which I asked you for your birthday before we got on air here, is you take your birth month, your birthday, and you take the full year and you deduce it to a whole number. And so I'm 5'5", 1971. So that breaks all the way down to the whole number 1. And, but it's also 19. And you know what 19 is? 19 is the sun card. I love that. I play with both of these guys because, I mean, who doesn't want to be the sun card?
Oh God, I know. I love the sun card. I think everybody does. In fact, it's on the center of my book.
I know. I said, who doesn't want to be this naked baby, like fully embracing life and just so happy being carried through by this horse and being divinely taken through life. And so that is so this is another thing that I do with my clients is when we begin a tarot reading, I tell them what their lifetime symbol is. And then we go, I can go back as many as last year, the year before, by taking 2019, it's just that year. So, and those are called growth years. So we can actually look back through the tarot, what energy we were in at a certain time. The year that I spoke about leaving my marriage, I was in the death year. So I can't make any of this up. It was my biggest transition. It was, the death card represents, a complete transformation. It is caterpillar to butterfly. It's also about having to completely lose, be done with a certain something, life, person. It's over. There's an ending. It's the ending card, right?
It's finality.
Finality. Yes.
Yeah.
Finality. So, yes. So what I tell people is what I do now professionally. These are all aspects that I have used in my own healing, and I still use them all the time, if not daily. I am still healing. I'm still evolving and still growing. And so again, this is why my love for tarot is so deep, and so the passion, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it's more amazing. So are you ready to hear what your card is?
Yeah, let's go into it. I'm so excited to see.
Yes, so you are a 9, and this also does touch into numerology. So before I know you know what the 9 is. It's the Hermit. So you are, Elliot, the Hermit, and the Hermit's energy is all about being the spiritual advisor, the spiritual guide, the one who is the way shower for us, the one who has had to take many moments in your personal life. You've had to go within, you've had to withdraw, you have had to put this big, heavy outer cloak on you to shield your energy so you can drop into this, what is the snow, the base. And the snow represents things that you have kept, things in your life that have been frozen. And these things that have been frozen, I truly believe have been difficult emotions. I believe there's maybe been, I don't feel a lot of trauma, but I feel like it's been things that when they would unthaw, then some things would be revealed. So delicately working with the energy of making sure as you are trekking through the snow that you are getting enough. It's almost like you have to gain this momentum, this strength, this courage, this wisdom. Wisdom is the biggest thing of the Hermit. So when you come out to pick up your lantern and you pick up your light that you're shining, because it's the Star of David, then you're going to illuminate to everybody. You're the way shower. You're the one who goes forward to shine the light on the dark aspects, the dark places. So this is no small card. This is no small lifetime symbol. Hermit energy is one of a true devotion to the deep internal work for the good of everybody else. And being a 9 means you've lived many lives. You have, if you choose to believe in multiple lives, past lives, when we come as a 9, you have had many experiences. You probably were hanging out with Athena in one of your lives. So that's like you've been in maybe in Greek mythology and all of that. But truly for this card for you, it's so, and then wisdom, I got to talk more about the beard, because we take each layer of the card, right? We speak to each aspect, and the facial hair with the beard indicating wisdom, a lot of detail to time there, and then head down. So it's like you're not even looking ahead. You're so in the present moment of just dealing with what is before you. So this is very representative of you. And so do you have
that interpretation? I love it.
Do you have anything to add for this? How do you interpret the Hermit card?
Well, very similarly.
Yes.
What I would say, the Hermit, it is a fitting card for me because even though I look very social and I'm on social
Yeah.
media and I'm always smiling and I'm talking, I'm at my happiest when I'm at home in my library late at night, secluded, studying something that's interesting to me,
Yes.
withdrawing, retreating. I love my alone time. I love my solitude. I can take it too far sometimes, so it's good for me to get out of my comfort zone and out of my cloak of protection. What I love about the Hermit is he's got that lantern and he's
Mm-hmm.
going through the dark and he's only able to see the next 3 feet in front of him.
Oh,
And
yes.
he's going through this whole dark path. And what he reminds us is that sometimes all we can see is only the next 3 feet in front of us. Sometimes we want the assurance of, well, my path is all revealed 5 years ahead and I see nothing but clear skies, but that's not how life is. A lot of times we are in the dark. We are trying to find our way. But when we let our light, our spirit, the star for me represents the immortal part of yourself. When you let
Mm-hmm.
that be your guide and illuminate the darkness, it shows you the next several steps to take. And if you can take those steps, you're going to be okay. And then the next 3 steps will be revealed. And the next 3 after that. I mean, the Hermit, he's an old man with a cane walking over a bunch of snow. So he's not moving very fast. And I think it's kind of like a kind of a slow moving self-discovery that we go through when
Yeah.
we're working with him. But yeah, I absolutely resonate with the Hermit for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think your interpretation was just beautiful.
Thank you. Yes, I love it. I love Hermit energy. I can spot them a mile away when this is their card, and it's really, and you spoke of it and I did forget to mention, so you actually get your energy and your strength when you can retreat. That is a true, that's the introvert. That is the energy, how you must go in and like get re-alchemized yourself. Extroverts have to get out there and be elbows and just touching other people, being around other people. They get that charge from other people, and that's what gets their energy going. But for the true
I love it
introvert,
too. I don't think I'm one or the other. I think I have
yeah.
Hermit and I also have Magician. I think
Yes.
that, if you're going to work with the tarot, you'll discover that the different personages you meet on the path are different times of your own life or different parts of you. And eventually you kind of become those things in those moments as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm totally introverted. Yes, I love to be alone, but I also love a nice big party with tons of friends and wine and enjoyment and laughter and connecting and having like engaging conversation. I adore that. I love it. But yeah, to recharge, I absolutely need that alone time. I absolutely need to retreat into a shell and just kind of decompress from all of that.
Yes, you need your recharge time. I love that. So, well, this has been so amazing. I could just seriously keep you on here all day, but I appreciate your time. I appreciate all this. I want
thank
to
you.
let me ask the questions. You kind of spoke through them as you were sharing, but so when in your life have you felt the most free to be yourself?
Well, I think it is definitely when I went to Delphi and I
Yes.
decided that I'm going to allow myself to be the oracle and not be the person who's trying to fit in a box and
Yes.
get the acceptance of everybody else. Because, even when I did that, it still isn't enough. It's insatiable. If you're constantly looking for the approval or the validation, it'll never be enough. There's not enough compliments in the world you can receive, and you'll still have that aching hole in your heart, and you'll still constantly be trying to fill it with another performance or a more perfect performance or whatever the thing is that you're doing. So the time I felt most free was when I said, I can let that go. I don't have to box myself in that identity anymore. I will play music for my own pleasure, for expression. In fact, I stopped playing the oboe. I ended up learning the harp, and I love the harp. It's just
I love when you play the harp.
freeing.
Yes.
Yeah. So now I just do it for fun and for enjoyment, and it just feels much more authentic.
It's so beautiful. I love that. And yes, I knew that was your answer then, and just feeling into that. So I just want to show the book one more time. I will have these in the show notes. If people want to book a reading with you, Elliot, how do they find you?
Oh, it's so easy. You
Yes.
just go to elliotoracle.com, and that's just 2 L's and 1 T for Elliot. And, you know, if you're curious about a card meaning, you can even type in Elliot Oracle, the Justice card, or Elliot Oracle, 10 of Swords, and my blog will come up. And I have all the descriptions. I do a little video. I talk you through it. And if you like it, you can always get the book, because everything that's in the blog is now in the book, but I go a little deeper in the book into each card and each symbol as well. So there's a lot more in the book than there is in the blog, but if you want to get a feel for what I do, check out the blog.
And you can tell that this is a deep passion of yours, because what you do and all the free content that you have given to me in particular, and all of those who follow you, it is true. You just type in the Justice reverse Elliot. I always put your name in it because I always want to hear what you have to say about it, and it comes right up, and it's your YouTube channel and all of that. And you know, and then you have a whole freaking blog on it. I'm like, oh my gosh. When I do my posts, I'm like always like, this is so much I have to do. So you're in your element. You are a shining star. You are a gift to so many of us who are seekers. And if you ever feel like your work is not important, my dear, it is deeply, deeply important. I see you and I appreciate you. And you can tell I'm choking up here. And I just,
well, thank you. Don't start making me go, because
I'm so happy that little boy, like he loved what he loved in the library, and that you challenged yourself as like your higher self, said, okay, Elliot, step in there and be this amazing tarot reader that you are today. And yes, and maybe next time I can have you on. I would love to hear about your husband and your
sure, yeah,
things about you. What is his name? Tell me his
Jacob.
name. Jacob, yes.
Yeah, he's wonderful, a wonderful person. In fact, he's the one who built my website, because he's much more technological. If I look at a computer, it breaks, you know. So he's much better with anything with a website problem or troubleshooting, anything like that. He's brilliant.
I love that. Yes. And you can find on your Instagram, I know you blend your Instagram really nicely, and a little personal and a little with the tarot. So, but again, thank you for your time, my dear. Thank you for the work.
What an honor. And thank you for the work you're doing. I think this show is going to be so wonderful for people, and helping to guide them back to what needs to be expressed authentically in themselves. So this is just marvelous. I think it's there's going to be good things ahead for it, for sure.
Yes. And we'll say, remember when our first little episode, you're like, yep, I was there. So thank you, my dear.
Well, I hope you have me back on sometime and we can reminisce. Yes,
absolutely. Thank you, my dear. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye, Elliot.
Bye-bye.
Bye, honey.